All right, without further ado, we have our first presentation today from Adam Troxell. Adam has transitioned from a real estate technology background into programming, and he previously worked closely with web developers for several years. His passion for travel and technology has led him to pursue programming, and his solo project, WanderWise, reflects this love of exploration and innovation. So, Adam, floor is all yours.
Thank you, Blaine. And as Blaine said, my name is Adam Troxell, and I will be presenting my project WanderWise. Let me share my screen here. And then I just have a little presentation. So I will be presenting WanderWise, and this is my app to build the perfect road trip. Let me just, oops. Every trip, or excuse me, our travel routine includes every trip. My wife and I will follow the same routine. We create a mental packing list. We discuss what we'll need and plan our daily activities. But despite my best efforts and my less than perfect memory, we often forget items, rush to pack, or even worse, have to unpack to confirm if something was packed. Excuse me. And that's where spreadsheets come into play. We eventually did resort to using spreadsheets for tracking everything. We had multiple packing lists, we had itineraries, we had saved locations in Google Maps. However, spreadsheets on mobile devices can be cumbersome, and keeping track of everything across different tools was stressful and inefficient. We needed a solution that could bring everything together seamlessly. And that's where my app WanderWise comes into play. Here you'll be able to register and log in your own private account. You'll be able to create trips to store your data. You'll be able to create daily itineraries and show where you'll be. You'll be able to create an item list that will follow you from packing list to packing list. And on top of that, there is a packing list that works great on both mobile and desktop. I designed this with a mobile first mentality. And having said that, let me go into the demonstration of the app, which you can see here. This is WanderWise. And when you first log in, you'll land on your trips page. By default, you won't have any trips, but you can see here that I'm going to the 4th of July, or I'm going to celebrate the 4th of July this week, and I'm going to Alaska next week. Once you're logged in, you can view your past trips, or you can create a new adventure from this page. Your next trip will also be highlighted, and it will have a countdown to that trip. If you'd like to create a new trip, you can go to the new adventure button, and this will give you a form to fill out where you can put in the trip name and the trip location and any destinations you'll be in. On the trips page, you'll also be able to go into the details for that specific trip. From here, you'll be able to display the trip information for that selected trip and any daily itineraries that you've set up. And this will also include a map of all the places you'll be. From here, you can edit your daily itineraries or create new ones. If you go to create one, you'll have access to these fields. You'll also be able to select the location on the map pin where you'll be. You can give the itinerary a name, and you can also give it some notes. My wife uses this to track trip or ticket information or other important information for the trip. I personally have been using it for just a daily note, what we'll be doing that day. But if that was the potatoes of the app, the packing list has got to be the meat. And this is where you can go to add new items to your list, and this list will follow you around from trip to trip. And then you also have your packing list, which is specific to that trip. But when you're on this page, you can put in a new item, give that item a category, and that will appear down here in your user items list. From here, you can add that directly to your packing list, or you can edit the item and give it a different name. You can also just simply remove that item. A feature I'm proud of is the ability to sort by your category that you input earlier. And since this is a trip in summertime in the Midwest, I definitely need bug spray. So I clicked the plus sign and added that to my trip. And then in the packing list itself, you can edit the item. You can choose a quantity. if it's packed or not, or give it a new name. Another handy feature I implemented was being able to simply click on the item itself to pack it. On top of that, this page is also optimized to look good in mobile. So that's one of the key elements of this is being able to go into your mobile device and be able to add these items to your list. You can also just tap on the item to mark it as packed. I also wanted to show off the add to map page. If you find that there's not enough map pins or where you're going doesn't have a pin, you can come to this page and manually add your own pin. You can add title, description, latitude, and longitude. I don't expect that to be very common for members. And on that front, I also built an admin only section that will allow me to come in and upload a CSV file that will update the map pins instead. That was a fun little side project for me to add to this, and it doesn't affect users, but it does make my life a little bit easier. On top of these pages, I also have a brief info page that gives you some information on the app, and a about page that gives a little information about me and how to get started. And that is it for what I wanted to show on WanderWise. So if there's any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, here's my contact information.
Great job, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, quick note. If there's any strange background noise on my end, there is some potential construction, so we'll work through that if it comes up. Okay, so for the folks in the audience, if you have a question, please drop them in as a comment to the Facebook thread, and they'll get passed over to me. We will do a Q&A here towards the back part of each of the presentations, and feel free to take a screenshot of any of our students' contact information if you'd like to reach out. And a final reminder, we do have Career Day in 5 weeks, and we'd love to have you there. Okay, so Adam, I've got a few questions for you trickling in here. But the first question I'll ask here is, you mentioned a couple of different features that are unique to your project. You mentioned the mapping system there, the CSV upload. I know that you have kind of a personal process involved with the trip planning and all that. So what would you say? What would you say was something that either surprised you in how difficult or easy it was, or something you're proud of? So something that was either interesting in the moment, something you stretched and figured out, or even just something that you accomplished that in hindsight you're particularly proud of.
Well, thank you. There's a couple that I would touch on. The CSV uploader using Multer and a file system along with the CSV parser. It's a technology that allowed me to upload a file and then read that file and then send that file to my database. That was surprisingly easy to do, but it was a fun little trick to learn. The most difficult thing was getting MapQuest to behave properly and taking those pinpoints that members can click on and adding that to the trip map so you can actually see where you're going to go on your trip.
Great, thank you. And I do see that Mark Tran also asked the same question. So shout out to Mark. Thanks for asking about what part he was most proud of. I've got a couple other ones. Let's see here. How about from Kara, one of our mentors? Thanks, Kara. We've got, what is one thing that you learned while working on this project that you would bring with you to future efforts?
That's a great question. And it's that my scope had changed wildly during the planning process. And it became so important and so widely reused that I would go back and make sure my planning stage included a lot of the things that I'm thinking of now. And I would want to make sure that my database schema is set up to reflect what I actually need and not what I thought would be nice. So it's making sure that my database talks to my front end and that I'm supplying everything to the databases that's needed.
Great, thank you. We've got another question from one of our mentors here. Jade asks, says, nice use of the divs. What did you end up using for that opacity, which I take to be a nod to part of your mentorship group?
Yeah, so I ended up working with our instructor, Dave, and he guided me on adding containers and then just setting the opacity there. So you could still see the background image, but it wasn't overwhelming and you could still read all the text. I ended up setting the opacity to about 90% on most of the containers. That way you could still see the background images, and that's going to come into play in a future enhancement where I have rotating background images based on your trip location.
Awesome. Well, fantastic, Adam. I think that's yeah, great demo and well-fielded questions. Nice work. Give you a
Awesome.
final round of applause
Thank
here.
you very much.